Hey guys, Better here to do an album review today. I'm here to tell you all about the latest album from Insomnium, Heart Like a Grave, out October 4th on Century Media. The album has 10 tracks, 1 hour, and it's the band's 8th full-length album. This band has the ability to put out records and raise the bar with every single record that they release. It's absolutely incredible. It's hard to find another band that is able to do what these guys do, which is not only meet the expectations that fans, and I'm sure the expectations that themselves have going into a record, but surpass them album after album. It's absolutely incredible. This record is no different. This record, in my opinion, is the band's best album to date. And I really feel strongly about it because it's an album that has so many complexities to it. This album has just so many moving parts, from structure to atmosphere to sound to lyrics to vocals. Everything surrounding this album, it's like a living organism that just grows and it multiplies itself, and it just keeps expanding itself. Absolutely an incredible record. Having said that, I know I'm going to be proven wrong a few years down the road when they release their 9th full-length album, and that one, I have no doubts whatsoever, will become their best album to date. But until then, this, in my opinion, is their best sounding record, their best overall record that they've released. Absolutely incredible. This album is like an iceberg. From above the water, you see how massive it is, but when you dive into the water, you realize that it's 5 times that size underneath it. So this album is just like that. At the surface, it looks magnificent, it looks great, it looks omnipotent. But once you start diving into the record and really breaking it down, man, you realize what a massive undertaking this album was and how gigantic it really is. Now, having said all of that, I really feel the best way for me to break down this record for you guys is to break it down into 3 major components: structure, atmosphere, and sound. To me, those are going to be the 3 main driving forces on this record that would allow me to at least paint you a picture of what to expect on October 4th. Let's start off with structure, because perhaps structure is going to be one of the things that the more people are going to walk by it and not really pay too much attention to it, because they're going to be so concentrated on the sound that this album has, on the overall atmosphere that the album has, on the lyrics, on the vocals. They're going to be focused on all the more perhaps superficial elements of the album, and structure perhaps is going to be one of the things that's going to fall through the wayside. And in my opinion, the structure of this record is what allows the record to sound as good as it does, is what allows the record to be as great, as solid, as, like I said before, omnipotent as it really is. So this album has a very cool structure, has a very cool design. Each song has their own individual structure. Very independent, very individual from each other. Every song has its own heartbeat. But then the overall album has its own dynamic as well. The album starts off with a track that I would consider to be a hybrid. It works as an intro, but it's also a song at the same time. It's absolutely right away. The album starts off right away and it blew my mind. So this track works both as an intro and as an actual song, as an actual track that then bleeds into the second track of the album, which is Valediction. So it bleeds. So as it finishes off that first track, as it finishes off, Valediction starts right after. So the 2 of them are interconnected. So one almost feels like the intro of the other while still being 2 separate songs. Magnificent. What a way to start off this record. And then it finishes off with an instrumental track, Karelia, that's just almost 8 minutes in length. And what a beautiful instrumental track that is. And what a way to close off the album. I absolutely love the way it started, the way it closed off. Absolutely magnificent. It really gives this sense of continuity of build, but this is an album that, in my opinion, grows as it progresses. The structure that this album has is such that just allows the album to feel like it's like almost like a child, like it's growing, but it's not only growing musically, it's growing emotionally as well. There's a emotional journey with this record that really starts off with that opening hybrid track and finishes off with that magnificent instrumental track. So to me, there's a lot of growth with this record, and there's an emotional growth. You really feel the album is growing emotionally, and that instrumental track at the end is the climatic moment of that emotion. When you feel like that, you finally can let your guard down, and you can be yourself, and you don't have to protect yourself from everything around it. That instrumental track does that for you, and it really creates that sense of growth from the beginning with that closing instrumental at the end. The way they transition from songs to songs is really well done as well. This is an album that has a very continuous feel to it. A lot of the songs don't necessarily bleed one into the other, but they have a sense of continuation. They fade out and then they fade in, and they feel like they're always interconnected. Some of them, the way they finish, allows the track that comes right after to pick up immediately at that spot and then continue on. So the overall album feels like one. It really feels like one single piece divided into 10 acts, if you will. So this is one play divided into 10 acts where they're all very smoothly interconnected with each other. And I like that. To me, that allows each song to feel different, each song to have its own dynamic structure, to have its own life, to have its own heartbeat, and not feel disconnected from one another, because the way they flow into each other allows the listener to feel like there's a continuity from the first to the last track, while every single track sounds and feels completely different. So it's a beautiful way to connect a record that has a lot of differences built in within itself. If you don't do it this way, the record feels completely broken apart. Each song starts to sound even more different than what they really are. But the ability that they had to construct a record, a structure of a record in a way that really allows the songs to flow one into the other, allows them to still be different, but feel together. Like I said, 10 acts in a one play. That is the overall feel that you get from this record as far as the structure is concerned. They also did a great job mixing the heavier with the more dynamic and melancholic tracks. To me, that's also another sign of a really well-balanced album. This is not a record that it feels like it's really top heavy, like you get a lot of songs that have a lot of heaviness and they're more dynamic together, and then songs that are very melancholic and drawn out, bunched up together. They did an amazing job mixing those two styles, those two specific approaches to tracks in order to create a movement, like almost like waves, like ripples in a lake. When you throw a stone at the water of a lake, it creates ripples. So this album has that ripple effect throughout, so it allows the listener to go in and out of more methodic, heavier tracks. Perfectly balanced record from that perspective. When you have that element with the overall transition that the songs have, those two elements really combine to make this record extremely fluid, but at the same time very concise. Like I said, one. It really feels like one. And that to me is one of the reasons overall, when you put all of these things together, this is why the structure of the album is one of the reasons why I feel this album is absolutely magnificent and their best album to date. Because all of these dynamics is what allows this album to overall really work and really expand itself beyond the walls of the actual record. Now, as far as atmosphere is concerned, I really like what they did with this record as well. It's an album that, like I said, it feels like it's growing. It's really emotionally draining. It's a very mature record from an emotional perspective. You feel like there's growth with every track, but there's a continuous growth with this album. You feel that you're just becoming a different person, that you're just growing as the record is progressing. You're understanding what's happening, and you're able to deal with those emotions a lot better as the record progresses. So there's a feeling, an overall atmospheric feeling that this album has that really allows you to put your guard down as the album progresses, and really allow everyone in, and you're not afraid of lowering your guard. You're not afraid of being who you are, and you're not afraid of letting your emotions come out. That is the kind of atmosphere that this album has as far as a listener is concerned. I really felt that at the beginning of the album, you feel more guarded. The songs feel more guarded. The lyrics, the emotion that the songs have feel more guarded. There's a more sense of anger and solitude. And then as the album progresses, you start to feel a lot more able to adapt to your environment. You're more welcoming to what's around you. You're able to recognize that certain things are out of your control, and that's fine. And you just have to learn how to deal with them. It's part of life. It's part of growth. So that is the kind of atmosphere that this album has. Sound-wise, this album is extremely powerful. melancholic, melodic, and very well orchestrated. A magnificent job, really complex, and like I said, to me, this is their most powerful and complex album to date. When you look not only at sound, but when you look at everything. But if you're looking at the sound perspective, really well put together. The way the solos work on this record, how they match the perfect drums with a solo track to blend the two together in order to give the solo a little bit more of a thickness if the solo was really light, or the drums kind of smoothing it out if the solo was really over the top and really melodic. The sound of this record is so well balanced, is so well put together. The bridges, the acoustic bridges that they use, the spoken word, the clean vocals, everything surrounding the sound on this record is perfect. It's on the right spot, at the right volume, with the right intensity when it needs to be, in order to convey the overall atmosphere that the album has, in order to convey the overall message that the lyrics have. It really paints a picture. This is a musical record that paints a picture. Absolutely magnificent. Draining, but absolutely magnificent. Now, as far as songs are concerned, I picked 3 songs that obviously were not the singles, because obviously you guys already heard the singles, so I want to talk about 3 songs that haven't been released yet, and I want to start with Neverlast. A very up-tempo song with great momentum. It slows down in the chorus, it injects a little bit more melody, it brings some light into the chorus, if you will. The vocals still feel darker and somber, but the melody behind it really lightens up the mood. The riff that follows the chorus is absolutely amazing. And after going through the structure of verse chorus twice, the song dips into this melodic coma. That's the best way I can describe it. I mean, if I'm in a coma, that's the melody I want to hear. So that's kind of the vibe that I got from that specific guitar riff that followed that verse chorus. When the guitars come into this track, specifically during that melodic coma, it almost feels like the wind hitting the sails. That's the beauty of the melody during that portion. It really feels like you're in the ocean, and that ocean breeze is hitting the sails of your boat and pushing you forward. Absolutely magnificent. The energy after that picks up again, and then the chorus comes into the track, and that's how the track then closes off. But it's a beautifully orchestrated track. I really love what they did here. It's a song that has a lot of beauty, but at the same time has a lot of darkness to it. Next, Mute Is My Sorrow, one of my favorite songs on the album. I love the acoustic guitar melody that opens off this track. The melody then becomes the main riff, the main melody throughout the song in the chorus. And I love that. I love that they kept it, because it was such a beautiful way to start off the song. But I don't think it would have been the perfect melody to carry the rest of the song through. So I really think that keeping it in the chorus allows the listener to feel comfortable, because you get change of the verses, then you come back with the chorus, and you come back with this very incredible melody. So there's a sense of comfort there in that chorus with that approach. The choruses are more melodic than the verses. This is a song that offers that kind of dynamic. It's a lot more robust in the verses, and then the chorus is a lot more melodic. It drops down a little bit of intensity. A song that really has that distinct notion of those two moments, and they flow perfectly with each other. This is a song that doesn't have an abrupt change between verses and chorus. What they did is they used like this spoken word bridge that really bridges the gap between the verses and the chorus, and that to me was a magnificent build-up to get into that very melodic approach that the chorus has in this song. After the second chorus on the track, that spoken word works as a bridge towards the solo. The same way they used it to bridge the verses and the chorus, then they use it to bridge the chorus and the solo. The solo on this track brings so much light into the song. A song that has, as the name says, sorrow, has a lot of sorrow to it, has a lot of somberness to it. It's very dark in mood and atmosphere, but the solo is like somebody, it's like somebody walking into an old house and open up the windows and letting the sun in. It has that kind of balance to the track. It really works as a perfect counterbalance to the overall darkness that this song carries. And then the track finishes off with a chorus. Absolutely magnificent. One of my favorite solos on the album. Last but not least, Twilight Trails. Outside of the singles, this is my favorite song. Outside of the singles. Bombastic start. This song has such an energetic start. The symphonic elements that they have on this track really blows the doors. It really expands the sound of the song, and it really makes this song absolutely magnificent. It's just so big. It has so much volume. It's absolutely incredible track. And this track, in my opinion, it has a very deep connection to the previous track, which is Mood Is My Sorrow. But I'll get to that in a minute. So this song has a bombastic start. The symphonic elements, like I said, really push the boundaries of this track. It gives the song so much volume. The drums on this track are absolutely phenomenal, specifically in the chorus. They're demolishing. They're so heavy. They have so much presence, so much volume, so much thickness, that it really counterbalances with the vocals, with the heaviness and the harshness of the vocals. The drums, together with the vocals, really counterbalance the melody that the track has, specifically in the chorus, because it's very beautiful, but there's so much volume there, and the two really counterbalance each other, really even out the track from that perspective. The solo slows down the song a little bit, but keeping the double pedaling on the drums behind the solo, it allowed the song to not feel too much of a dip. So the song does lose a little bit of intensity with that solo, but the drums allow that intensity to still be afloat while the solo is playing in the forefront. That combination absolutely blew my mind. I really liked it. I really felt the energy that was coming from it, and it added heaviness to the solo. It made the solo feel heavier. Then it goes into an acoustic bridge that is absolutely, this is around the middle point of the track. It goes into this acoustic bridge that is not the only, this song has two acoustic bridges, but it goes into this acoustic bridge that has a very haunting sound to it. Absolutely magnificent. This is a song that's made up of many moments. Like I said, there's going to be another acoustic bridge coming down the line, but it's a song that progresses very well, that's very well interconnected. The second acoustic bridge has more of a somber feel, has a darker embrace. And then when you add the spoken word into it, it adds to that dark embrace, it adds to that dark, somber feel that second acoustic bridge has, compared to the more melodic approach of the first acoustic bridge. Then you have the song coming into the last bit of peace. It goes back into that main melody that the song has, and then it finishes off with a chorus. And after the chorus, it tempers it off with the same melody, but in acoustic again. What this does is it connects this track with Mute Is My Sorrow, because the way Mute Is My Sorrow starts with that beautiful acoustic guitar melody, it's how this one, Twilight Trails, finished. Not the same melody, but the same style, the same approach. So two very separate songs. The way one starts is the way the other one finished. This speaks to me about the overall structure of the record, and like I said before, how fluid it is from one track into the other, and how everything, while so different, while these two songs, Mute Is My Sorrow and Twilight Trails, are so unique, so different from an internal structure perspective, and still how interconnected they are by the way one starts is very similar how to the other one finishes. Absolutely incredible. This album is nothing short of a masterpiece. Alright guys, this is it for me, but let me know your thoughts on Insomnium and on Heart Like a Grave. I'm sure you have a lot to say. You have a lot of things you want to talk about. Use the comment section below. I'll be reading those and getting back to you. Take care, guys.